Hi everyone. Welcome to the Money Knowledge channel. Today we will be talking about inflation. To stay up to date with my latest videos and cool money management tips, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button. Anyone buying a new car, or even a cup of coffee, has noticed that prices are going up. Consumers are experiencing higher prices on food, gasoline, and many other everyday goods and services. The Labor Department in the U.S. reported that the Consumer Price Index, which measures a group of goods, rose 8.5% in March from a year ago, the fastest pace since December 1981. The inflation rate hit a 40-year high. Yes, you heard it right, it's a 40-year high. Similarly in Canada, we saw the inflation is at a 30-year high. Statistics Canada reported that in March all 8 categories of the economy that the data agency tracks rose, from food and energy to shelter costs and transportation, compared to last month. Many families are modifying their investment strategy, which we will discuss in another video. So setting aside investment strategies for a moment, is there anything you can do to combat inflation as a consumer? In fact, there's plenty that you can do. In this video, we will discuss 4 essential steps that you can take to help counteract the rising prices. Before we start, what is inflation and what does it mean? Simply put, when inflation goes up, the value of your money goes down. When the cost of these goes up, we can't buy as much as we could before. Inflation is like a leaky tap. It may not look like a lot of water is coming out, but it's amazing the impact it can have over time. Let's say you put $50,000 under your mattress today. If inflation averages 3% per year, and you pull it out to spend after 10 years, it would only be worth $37,000 at present value, because of inflated costs of goods and services. If you wait 20 years, it would only be worth $27,000 at present value, and so on. Put it another way, let's say you received a 3% raise at the start of 2022. Then, the cost of living goes up by 5% this year. In the end, the purchasing power of your income is less, so the value of your income is actually less this year than it was last year, even with your wage increase. So what can you do to help keep up with the rising inflation? First, more important than ever, you need to create a budget if you don't already have one, and stick to it. If you have a budget that you created a while ago, it is a good time to review it and update it with the latest information. A budget can let you see your spending habits and help you find ways to save. When inflation is high like it is, we often get hit with higher prices everywhere from the grocery store to the gas pump. So keep tabs on your budget and follow a spending plan to keep track of your funds every month. If you haven't seen my video on budgeting, here is a link to it, how to budget in less than 10 minutes. Budgeting is about knowing what money is coming in and where it's going out, and making sure the in is more than the out so you have enough for your needs, and can save and invest for your future. When you put together a budget, pay attention to the expense categories that inflation might affect in the near future, such as transportation, food, and utilities. Some of you may remember my video about money-saving tips that you can easily master. If you have not seen it, here is a link to it, and I will add that in the video description section below. During inflationary times, it is important to go deep into what you spend, and see how you can save. In looking at expenses, let's look at both recurring expenses and irregular expenses. For recurring expenses, do you know that you can negotiate a better deal from your service providers? You'll be surprised that companies such as insurance, telephone, TV, internet, and credit card all offer discounts. Most service providers will negotiate and match the prices of their competition, especially if you have done some homework and tell them what the competition is offering. Start by building a rapport, then ask if there are any programs or discounts you qualify for. There is no harm in asking. At home, you likely have few recurring subscription services like Netflix, Spotify, Disney+, etc., so let's talk about these streaming entertainment. Have you heard that just earlier this week, Netflix reported their loss of subscribers for the very first time in more than a decade? One of the key reasons is inflation. About 200,000 families canceled their Netflix subscription in the first quarter of 2022. So why shouldn't you also review your entertainment cost? You can scale back your services or rotate different streaming apps to reduce the recurring monthly cost. On the road, gasoline is getting expensive, and over the course of the year it all adds up to a hefty bill. Even before the pandemic, the total costs of owning and operating a car is high. These days consumers are often paying above sticker price for new cars due to shortage of new vehicle inventory. While used cars can be more economical than buying a new car, used car prices have also been surging. Given the high costs of car ownership, you may be better off cycling, taking transit, or calling Uber only when you need it. If you do have to drive regularly, you may be able to save a lot of money at the pump by doing some research. That is, before you buy gas, use an online service like the GasBuddy app to find the cheapest gas station near you. Just make sure you're not driving so far out of your way that you end up spending more than you save. Do you have examples of how you have saved on daily expenses? Share them in the comments below, as I want to hear your ideas too. Now for non-recurring costs or big-ticket items, not everything will always be more expensive in the near future. Some price hikes could be temporary due to supply issues, and, in that case, it may pay to hold out. Last year, my family was looking into fixing the fences in our backyard. But there was a lumber shortage due to the pandemic and supply chain logistic problems. So what did we do? We waited. Yes, the backyard was not looking very nice for over a year, but by delaying the non-essential fix and waiting out the lumber shortage, we have saved tons of money. To fight inflation is not always about cutting expenses, sometimes it is important to spend wisely so you can get the savings in the long run. For example, shortages are quite common in high inflation environments. For that reason, you may want to consider maintaining an extra supply of non-perishable food and other essentials for periods when stores cannot resupply themselves. Yes, this includes buying surplus toilet paper, but it also means stocking up on canned goods and other non-perishable items that you can find on sale. When you are looking to purchase a durable good, like a major appliance, buy a quality product that will not likely need to be replaced or serviced anytime soon. Although your purchase price might be higher initially, the purchase could keep your overall expenditures over the period of your ownership more manageable. At home, you could consider how to make it more energy efficient to reduce your future utility bills. To reduce your heating and cooling costs, you have many levers to pull, such as sealing your windows and doors. Energy efficiency projects are more likely to generate a strong return on investment during inflationary environments where energy costs can rise quickly. You can't control how inflation rises and falls, but you can control your own financial decisions and make choices today that will help you manage inflation tomorrow. Some of you may remember my video on steps to save over $238,000. In the video, we talked about building wealth is like filling a sink with water. You turn on the tap and plug the sink. In times of high inflation, we should not forget about how to fill our sink faster. It is time to consider negotiating your salary. This year, instead of waiting and hoping for a raise, be bold and ask for it. You have a good reason to pitch an increase in pay. Inflation has surged. Usually inflation tends to drive up wages. As we experience a growing labor market, employers would offer higher wages to compete for talents. But this may not affect all workers equally. The sad reality is that if you don't get a raise in 2022, and inflation remains the same or keeps raging higher, you'll actually see a decrease in your real purchasing power with your pay. You may be anxious or uncertain about how to ask for a raise, so here are some effective tips to help improve your chances of getting a raise. Make sure you do your homework beforehand to make it easy for your manager to say yes. Your request should be made along with a pitch to the boss outlining all the great work you've accomplished over the last 12 to 18 months. Share with your supervisor the data that highlight your wins. Show how you exceeded expectations. Cite all the achievements, including how you have helped your boss and your team succeed. Research can also help your case. Find out the salary brackets for someone in your profession and your experience to see whether you are on the right track. Websites like Indeed and Salary.com can help. You should also be looking at whether your role has changed since the pandemic. If you've been taking on more responsibility, that can be a good argument for a higher salary. I understand that it's a really vulnerable thing to ask for more money, and there is always the chance that someone will say no. But a refusal is not always the end of negotiations. If your company can't give you a pay rise straight away, you should find out the timeline and what you need to do in order to get there. Checking in with your manager on a regular basis and getting to know what their own goals are so that you can communicate your accomplishments and how you help the whole team. If it doesn't work out, you have to decide whether to look for another opportunity or seek ways to move up within your current organization. Maybe the solution to higher earnings is to simply look for a better paying job. Do you have experience in asking for a raise? How did it go? Share your experience in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. So with these 4 steps, you now get a plan to combat the rising inflation. Hope you enjoy this video. To stay up to date with my latest videos and cool money management tips, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Until next time, stay safe, happy money management, thank you.